I was sitting on my bed one rainy evening, the glow of my laptop illuminating the room. After several awkward dates and endless swiping on Tinder, I had nearly given up on finding someone special. But when I stumbled upon Mia's profile, everything changed. Her photos were captivating. She was a vibrant woman with striking green eyes and an infectious smile. Her photos showed her hiking and traveling. Her bio read, adventure seeker, coffee lover, and a hopeless romantic. I swiped right, and to my delight, we matched almost instantly. Our conversation flowed pretty easily. We talked about our favorite coffee spots, places we'd traveled, and our dreams for the future. Mia seemed genuine, and I was drawn to her warmth and openness. It felt too good to be true, but I allowed myself to get swept away. Over the next week, our chats became increasingly intimate. We talked more about our lives, photos of our pets, playlists of our favorite songs, and things we did in high school. I started to feel a real connection that I hadn't experienced in a long time. After about a week of this, we agreed to meet up at a local cafe. I was nervous, but pretty excited, since it's been a long time since I went on a real date. On the day of our date, I arrived early. I ordered a latte and took a seat by the window. Time passed slowly as I scanned the cafe, hoping to catch a glimpse of her walking through the door. But as the minutes dragged on, my excitement turned into anxiety. After 40 minutes, I sent her a message. "Hey, are you on your way?" I got no response. An hour later, I decided to leave, disappointment settling in my gut. I checked my phone one last time before heading home, but there was still no word from her. The following day, I received a message from Mia, apologizing profusely. "I'm so sorry, I had a family emergency. Can we reschedule?" is what she said. Relieved and somewhat desperate, I agreed and forgave her. We planned to meet later that week, but again, she canceled a couple hours before we were supposed to meet. The excuses became more elaborate, like family crisis and work issues. Despite my friend's warnings, I clung to the hope that she was simply dealing with those issues, and I chose to believe her. Weeks passed and we continued to talk, but we didn't mention or talk about meeting up at all, and something started feeling off. So I decided to research and found out if she was even a real person. After searching for about 30 minutes, I couldn't find any trace of Mia outside of Tinder. Her social media accounts were non-existent, and her phone number was a dead end. I decided to dig deeper, but the more I searched, the less I found. Frustrated, I set up a fake Tinder profile using a photo of my friend and a different name. To my surprise, I found Mia and matched with her again. My heart raced as I began texting with her. "So what do you do for fun?" I texted her. "Travel, mostly. I actually just got back from a trip," she replied almost instantly. "Where did you go?" I pressed on. "Oh, just some towns upstate. They have nice trails up there." The vague answers echoed what I had experienced before. I felt a surge of anger mixed with dread, and I decided to press for a meeting, curious about her reaction. "How about we meet up? I'd love to grab a coffee," I texted her. She didn't text for a while, but when she did, she said, "I'm really busy for the next couple of weeks. Maybe after that." The unease I felt began to spiral into something darker. I had invested weeks into someone who was clearly playing games. I stopped texting her on that account. A few days later, after not talking to her for a while, I received a message from Mia on my real profile. I really want to talk. Can you meet me? My heart raced again, but this time with apprehension. Where? I asked. I wanted to be cautious, since I was still very suspicious. She said, let's meet at the park near your place tonight. There was a park only a walking distance from my house. But the thing is, I never told her where I lived, or even the general area. After some inner turmoil, I agreed, my curiosity battling my better judgment. I arrived at the park, the night air heavy with tension. The moonlight cast eerie shadows as I parked my car in the parking lot. I walked down the path to the playground and waited on the swings. I was on edge, glancing around at the empty benches and the rustling trees. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, something I've grown accustomed to with this girl. But just as I was about to leave, I heard footsteps behind me. Hey, sorry, I'm late. I turned around, and my breath got caught in my throat. The woman before me looked nothing like the Mia from her photos. She was shorter, disheveled, and her eyes were devoid of the warmth I had come to expect. Who are you? I asked, stepping back instinctively. Mia, she replied, but her voice lacked the charm I had come to know from the phone. What happened? You are not the girl in the pictures, I said, concerned and annoyed. They're just pictures. It's all about the connection, right? She said while laughing, but her laugh was unnervingly hollow. I felt a mixture of anger and fear. Why would you do this? This isn't right. She said she wanted to meet someone who could appreciate me, and she took a step closer. I said, this is seriously fucked up, and took a step in the direction of the parking lot. But then, before I could even react, she lunged at me. I stumbled back, and adrenaline surged through me. Panic gripped my chest as I turned to run. I sprinted toward the parking lot. My heart was racing. I fumbled for my keys, and my hands were shaking. Just as I unlocked the door, I heard her voice behind me. Please, don't run away. I jumped into my car, slammed the door shut, locking it just as she reached for the handle. I stared at her through the glass, and she was crying. She shouted out, "Just let me explain," and her expression started shifting from desperation to something darker, almost predatory. I started the engine and backed out of the parking space. I glanced in the rearview mirror, and I saw her standing there, fist clenched, face twisted in rage. I drove away, the weight of fear settling in my bones. My mind raced, replaying the encounter, trying to comprehend how I had fallen into such a trap. I felt exposed and vulnerable. That night haunted me. I reported her account and deleted my Tinder, wanting to erase the entire experience from my memory. Weeks after the incident, I still felt the shadow of that encounter lurking in the corners of my mind, and sometimes at night I would have nightmares of Mia creeping around my house. One evening, while watching the news with my parents, a local report started playing. A woman had been arrested for stalking and catfishing men online. The description sent chills down my spine. It was her, Mia. The report mentioned she had a history of deception, leading victims to remote locations under false pretenses. My heart raced as the reporter continued talking. She was just convicted of killing and eating a 19-year-old boy after talking with him on a dating app. They found his remains at a park, just 30 minutes from my house. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I left the living room and ran to the bathroom, threw up. I can only imagine what could have happened to me if I didn't make it out of that park that night. I still remember that cold winter night when everything changed. I was sitting on my bed scrolling through Tinder, feeling lonely after a messy breakup. That's when I came across her, Ella, with her long dark hair, bright blue eyes, and a smile that seemed to hold a secret. We matched almost instantly, and I was hooked. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with laughs and shared interests. Movies, music, hiking. She lived a few hours away, but that felt like a minor detail. After weeks of texting, we moved to late-night phone calls that stretched into the early hours. I felt myself falling for her. A few days before our planned meetup, things started to feel off. Ella texted me, "I can't wait to see you, but there's something I need to tell you." My heart raced as I read that message. She confessed that she had anxiety about meeting in person and wanted to wait just a bit longer. I wanted to be supportive, but a nagging unease settled in my stomach. As days passed, Ella became less responsive. Her texts grew shorter, and our conversations felt forced. I decided to dig deeper. I reverse searched her photos, hoping to find her true identity. That's when my stomach dropped. Her pictures appeared on multiple modeling websites, but none matched the name she had given me. I confronted her, and for the first time, I sensed real panic in her replies. "Please don't investigate further," she begged. "I have my reasons." I was stunned. The connection we had felt so real, but now it was just unraveling before my eyes. Just as I was about to block her, I received a new message. But it wasn't from Ella. It was a grainy photo of a man in his late 30s, grinning in a way that made my skin crawl. The message read, "You should have listened to Ella." Nausea washed over me. This was no longer just an online deception. It felt sinister. I blocked her and reported the other account, but dread lingered. The next day, I felt like I was being watched. I looked over my shoulder everywhere I went. I started seeing him, a figure lurking at the end of my street, always just a shadow, but it filled me with fear. I tried to convince myself it was my imagination, but it was hard to ignore. One night, I returned home late from work. As I turned the key in my door, I caught sight of that silhouette again. This time, it was closer. My heart raced and I hurried inside, locking the door behind me. Just then, I heard a soft knock at my window. I froze. I crept to the window and pulled back the curtain, and there he was, the man from the photo, standing outside, grinning. I felt paralyzed, breath caught in my throat. He raised his phone and took a picture of me standing there, terrified. Then he ran away, disappearing into the night. After that, I was a wreck. I filed a police report, but they just brushed it off, saying it could have been a prank. I knew it was more than that. I started looking for a new place to live, feeling I had no choice. Eventually, I moved far away, hoping to leave it all behind. I deleted my dating profiles, vowing never to go back to online dating. But even after settling into my new life, the weight of fear lingered. Every knock or shadow outside set me into a panic, dragging my mind back to those nights. It's been a couple of years since that experience, and I still wonder about Ella. Who was she? Was she even real? Online dating can feel so intimate, but now I know just how dangerous it can be. Sometimes it's better to be alone than to risk getting caught in a web of lies. My freshman year of college was supposed to be a fresh start, but I quickly felt isolated. After a messy breakup, I turned to Tinder and matched with a girl named Taylor. Her profile was captivating, beautiful photos, and a love for psychology and adventure. We clicked instantly, exchanging late-night texts and deep conversations. We decided to meet at a coffee shop, but Taylor never showed up. After waiting an hour, I left feeling confused. Days later, she messaged me apologizing and claiming she had had a panic attack. I felt sympathy and resumed our chats, but she became more elusive, avoiding video calls and making excuses. Growing suspicious, I reverse searched her photo and found them linked to different women online. When I confronted her, she begged for understanding. I just wanted to connect. Angry and betrayed, I blocked her. The next day, I received a chilling message from an unknown number. You shouldn't have blocked me. Feeling uneasy, I took precautions, avoiding my usual routes. That night, I received strange texts every half an hour, random images, and jumbled letters. The next day, I spotted a dark-haired girl watching me while I was studying in the library. Was that Taylor? Later that night, things escalated. I began receiving eerie voice messages and felt watched everywhere I went. One night, I saw the silhouette of the girl lurking outside my dorm. Terrified, I locked the door and called a friend, who urged me to report it. I'd filed that report with campus security, but the fear lingered. A few nights later, I heard scratching at my window. I crept to the curtain, but no one was there. The next week, I received a video of me walking across campus, taken from afar. Panic set in as I rushed to campus security for help. With their help and support, I changed my phone number and privatized my social media accounts. Despite my efforts, the fear hung over me. Eventually, I decided to take a break from campus and stay with my family for the summer. I never heard from Taylor again, and I learned the hard way that the online world can be dangerous, where people hide behind screens and create sinister identities. Now, I'm always cautious about who I trust online. Not everyone is who they claim to be, and a lot of times the truth can be far more chilling than fiction.